G'day, welcome to flight number 8 of the World Tour. It's the VFR World Tour 2023 edition. Today I'm going to fly this in the DC6. It's a large, it's actually a large 4-engined, beautiful thing from the 50s, I think. Could even be earlier than that. Now this is not normally allowed in the VFR tour, so we're going to present, this might hold up, we'll try. This is going to present as a Beech King Air. Now I'm going to fly at a reduced power setting of around, I think it's 20 inches of manifold pressure, and that gives us, maybe 30 actually, I need to check, and that gives us around 200 knots cruise. 200 knots cruise is well under the King Air's capability, which is more like 250, 270, and so I don't feel like I'm cheating too much. And also yeah, it's also well under the maximum indicated airspeed allowed for this tour. The VFR tour is 250 knots, so I'm also well under the allowed of 250 knots. So it's like a really old thing. Now I might be pushing the boundaries here, because I'm noticing a little bit of stuttering now. When I've got the streaming going, I've got all the bits and pieces going. So we'll see. But just to show you that thing from outside again without these guys on. Yeah, she's a beauty. Alright, so there's a lot to manage here actually, and I'm not an expert in this aircraft. Everything is manual in this aircraft. All of these circuit breakers up here are all modelled and all individually switchable. It really is incredible amount of work that's gone into this, and as well as that, yeah, everything is very, very manual. It doesn't have an autopilot. It's got this thing called a gyro pilot, which kind of just holds the wings level and steers you in a direction. It's got 4 engines, so everything's times 4 everywhere. And because it's a complex aircraft to fly, it's normally flown with 2 people, and because of that fact, I have a virtual flight engineer who will take care of the mundane stuff while I take care of the flying of the aircraft and the navigation of the aircraft. He'll manage I'll manage the power settings once we're in the cruise, but he'll manage all the other sort of power settings and stuff while we're taking off and climbing out, and as well as the approach. So I think we're ready to go. We've lodged the flight plan. We've got a departure time that is in about 20 minutes. We should be able to manage that. Just a brief introduction about where we're going today. So it is basically from Bath to just inside the Polish border. Now the name of this place, I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce. In Google Maps, it's flying from Bath, which is up in the north of Germany here, which we should see it somewhere here, and just inside this the Polish border here, to this area here. Oh my goodness, and it's to the airport. That's this guy here. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce any of this, so I'm not even going to attempt. But we flying from, now there's no radio navigation aids around here, so I mean the nearest one's right up here, so I'm not going to dogleg it up here. So I'm going to fly visual at 118. I'm going to aim for this big town here. Now should be able to pick up that big town. It's by the water. From there I'm going to try and fly 109 to the north end of these lakes, to sort of towards this town, but we should be able to pick up both this airport and this what looks like a marker beacon, and from there down to 119, and we can should be able to pick up this nav aid 11475 and into the airport. Okay, so let's turn those guys off and then we can get started. Well, first I guess we need to think about how much fuel we got on board. So in terms of cargo, we can just pop these up. This will make it quite heavy. And for fuel, I mean, it's a very short flight. We don't need this much fuel, but I'm just going to keep it as is. Keep it like that. Let's really get the nose wheel down again. Wow. It's very tail heavy, right? I mean, if you load up the cargo, you can see the weight comes off that nose wheel quite a lot. Alrighty. Well, I'm just going to let the flight engineer start things up. Now, this is quite a lot of interaction here. I'll just put this up, the volume. No, I'll leave the volume as is, but when we start up, I'll crank the volume up.
Completed.
Okay.
Voice recorder. Tested. Oil coolers and cow flaps. Auto and position. Fuel and fluids. Checked. Pressurization. Set. Manifold and duct pressure. Checked. Radios. Checked. Doors and hatches. Closed. Door warning lights. Out. Gear pins. Removed. 3 on board. Seat belts and pedals. Adjusted. Throttles. Set to idle. Propellers. Forward and 3. Before start checks complete. Start engines.
Okay, engine start normally is engine 3 first, which is why he selected engine 3, but I'm actually going to start engine 2 because it's the one closest to me. I've just opened the door so you can listen to the startup of this large rotary, supercharged rotary. It's such a nice sound to it. So what I also like to do, just remove the gust lock, the control gust lock now, and I just bring all the mixtures up so I don't need to look down. I can just keep my head up at the panel and the engine instruments. The other thing too, he said pressurization set. It actually isn't set. He might have to set something else, but by no means has he set the flight altitude or the cabin altitude. Today we're doing a flight at 7,000 feet, or 7,500 actually it should be. And I'm going to set a little bit, make it a little bit easier on the people in the back. We'll give it a cabin pressure of say 3,000. Just to give the pressurization system something to do. And now I'll just go ahead and start the engine 3. Now the way we do that, we can turn the fuel pump on. That's on low. We have engine 2 selected. engine 2. Engine 2 mags to both. Fuel is on. So we've got you know, you need fuel and you need air and you need spark. Now we've got fuel, we've got air that's outside, and the spark comes from the Maggies, which we've got set here. But because these old engines need a fair bit of go-go, we will turn on both the prime and the spark boost, and this will generate a lot more sparks going on inside the engine for the startup. This is the starter here. So once I pull this, the first engineer will count through 12 propellers. When he sees 12 propellers, I will hit the boost and the prime, and the thing should start up. Apparently this model is very realistically, so sometimes it works. Okay, let's go. I'll be quiet and I'll crank up the volumes now on the start. So
3, 6, 9, 12.
That's just magnificent. Alright. Okay, now we just need to start them all up, so we'll go back to number 3. Again, I don't need to check the fuel pressure on 3.
9, 12.
So I don't need to check the mixtures because I know I have the mixtures set. I don't know how much you can hear me over the engines. Let me just crank the engines down a bit. Otherwise I might be unable to be heard. Okay, let's go for engine number 4. Everything's looking good. 4's got fuel pressure. Now we won't need to do any fuel management. Some of the nice thing about this aircraft is the fuel management. We won't need to do any fuel management because it's such a short flight, but I'll go through that briefly. Should have that guy there started. Should be able to see this one here started. That one's not. I'll just shut the window now. Other way. And lastly, engine number 1. Fuel pressure on 1.
6, 9, 12.
Let's go on. RPM's up. Alright, so we've got a good start on all of those, and we'll switch the starter off, and then we'll ask the first engineer to go through the after start checks.
Start selected boost pumps. Off and off. Battery switch. Plane entry. Generators and inverters. Checked and on. Emergency lights. Armed. Ground power. Removed. After start checks complete.
Okay, now just about our position here. Let's turn this guy off. I want to look at a couple of things. One is, can I turn before the building? Maybe, maybe not. I'll actually reverse up a little bit. The DC6 can reverse up. And then the other thing I just want to look at is the wind direction. It's barely long enough. This runway is barely long enough for the DC6. And I'm not seeing a windsock anywhere. I have to say Microsoft Flight Simulator does seem to not put windsocks, which are pretty important pieces of equipment at airfields. Never mind. We'll have a look at the. I'll quickly look at the Navigraph weather for Bath, and I won't bother showing you. I'll just have a look. The weather is currently 30 degrees 5 knots. So 30 degrees. That's going to be 09. So that's the long taxi. The long taxi to the left. Okay. Alrighty. So to reverse this thing up, we turn the reverser on, which is reverse thrust, which is here, and we can just power up slowly. And I can do it from the outside. Didn't work so good. Let me just make sure the parking brake is off. I believe that is parking brake is off. So, and because it'll have auto come out, we'll try again. Just doesn't want to do it. Just does not want to do it. Okay, we're just going to have to try and drive out forwards. Easy, easy, easy. Okay. Now I want my transponder to be 1200, because that's VFR. Looks like I might get a little bit of grass action going on here. Yeah, I think we're going to get a little bit of grass here. That's okay. I think we got away with it. Okay, we're just going to taxi, turn around and take off. So once we get onto the runway, we'll start our taxi before takeoff checks.
First stops. First stops on low. Fuel selector and crossfeed. Main tanks and crossfeed off. Autopilot and carb heat. Off and cold. Hydraulic system. Down, forward, pressure and quantity checked. Okay. Flaps 20.
Okay, so while he was doing that, I was just meddling a little bit with the. Sorry. As a reminder, this doesn't have a heading bug, so I've just set it in the VOR there as of the desired heading that we want to hold to the first town, which is 118 degrees, and I'm just going to. Elevation of Bath is 23 feet, so we just want 23 to give us something that resembles a QNH. Alright, looks like I'm going to get some more grass action. So my normal flirt checks aren't really appropriate in this aircraft. Here the AFV, the automated flight engineer, does actually a really good job of managing that. I'll try and get as much runway in as I can. The runway at the other end is plenty long, but this one is a little short at 5,000 feet. Come on, turn around, turn around. Okay, I'm going to make it 5,500 feet. Alright. Now, because we're quite heavy, we want to be taking off around about this 120 mark. Getting up to 120 by the end of this runway will be a challenge, so I'm not going to do a fit off brakes until we're full takeoff power. So let's set takeoff dry. Let's go.
30 inches stabilize. 30 inches stabilize.
So we're calling for 30 inches here.
30 inches stabilized. Tail flaps. Cowl flaps. Cowl flaps set. Full power, please. Going full power.
Okay, I'm not going to fit off brakes until we're at full power stabilized. Okay, let's go.
Full power set.
Airspeed is active. This is going to be tight. This is going to be tight. I can see the end of the runway already. 80 knots. It's going to be real tight. I think we're going to be taking out those lights at the other end. 100. Okay, try not to take out those lights. 110. Let's go. Let's put the nose down. Let her accelerate a bit. Come on, get to the 120. You can do it. You can do it. I'll just try and clear trees and accelerator as well. Okay. There we go. We're getting closer to 120 now. Okay, you can relax now. Okay, I'll trim it back a little bit. It's holding a fair bit of back pressure there. But also trying to keep it flying, right? Aviate first. Okay, let's turn left. Let's do an orbit. It's actually right-hand orbits in this airport, but I'm just going to do left. It's not a real aeroplane in a real world. So I've managed to be high enough to miss trees and things. Oh, windmills. That's why it's a right-hand circuit. I see. We're going to have to go around those bad boys. nice thing about DC6 is you do tend to hand fly it. It's just pulling to the left a lot. I'm wondering if it's... We have a little bit of disparity there on the fuel flow. Everything else looks okay. Oh, the RPM. Okay, look at that. RPM on engine 1 is much higher. Okay, you need to deal with that, buddy. Flight engineer, where are you? I think I'm ready for you to do the... There's the airport there because we took a massive dog leg around those things. I'll let it accelerate so that the AFE can tidy this thing up. We really got to get these flaps away and get the power back.
Flaps up.
Yep.
Flaps going up.
That'll accelerate it more, and then I can get the power back and all the rest of the stuff. So I'll turn on my heading now, which is 118.
Retail power.
Yep. Okay, let's hope these RPMs come back to be stable, because that engine 1 RPM was a bit higher than the others. They do model these engines individually. It's quite a good job, actually. It's quite a really nice airplane to fly.
Retail power set.
It's very stable.
Climb power. Setting climb power.
It is not unlike a I don't know, it feels like a lot smaller aircraft than it is. Now, climb power, I'm going to, again, just let the airplane accelerate. It'll probably settle a bit.
Climb power set.
I just want to get the, I want to accelerate the aircraft.
After takeoff checks are complete.
Okay, we're only at 1,500. Okay, now we're heading for that town. This is all going to happen probably pretty quickly, right? So we've got to start looking out for this stuff. So I'm not cheating. I'm not using any Navigraph, GPS, or anything. I'm just eyeballing this. Eyeball Mark 1 with, is this Artificial Horizon Mark? Oh, looks like it might be a good one. Maybe a Mark 1 actually, because it hasn't got any mark on it. Now that little lake there, it looks like we should be flying to the left of that guy. I suspect it's, oh dear, I suspect it's that lake there, which has the large town on the left of it. And we're heading for this much larger town. Oh no, it's about the same size, but towards the end of this lake, so down this way. Yeah, I'm gonna say it is in there. They're meant to be doing 7,500. We're gonna get there by the time it's time to come down. This looks like a couple of really nice. You can't see them, but I'll use my virtual. Looks like a couple of big churches going on here. This is still on the German side. Yeah, I'm drifting a little bit to the left because I see a town, I get excited. So the actual town we want is more this direction. So yeah, it's going to be in that area there. We're only doing 170, climbing at 500. It's all pretty comfortable. Just hand flying this. And 1147, we're not going to pick up for a while. Oh, just as I say that, we get it. We get it. All right. We've got it already. We can actually just track straight to it now. One thing about, and I might have mentioned this, Microsoft Flight Simulator, I can't turn this on here and listen to the ident. It's a massive shortcoming. I must be able to make sure that I've got the right station. Now it looks like I've got the right station. It's kind of pointed in the direction. So I'm just going to fly now pretty much to the way that we wanted, which is to that town, to the 330 DME, which we haven't picked up yet. Maybe because it's not active. Okay, 330. No, we don't have it. We would expect this needle here to swing towards it. Or not. VOR, ADF. Yeah, I presume that's ADF. So we're at 5,000. I'm going to actually call... Nah. Look at those. They're all over the shop. Number one really does have a higher RPM. What is going on there? Now, I'm not going to fiddle around with the propellers. Well, I don't even know where the propellers are in this. Decrease RPM. Okay, so I'm going to actually try, because we've got a blue light here. Blue light. Oops, sounds bad. I tried this decrease. Doesn't seem to be doing anything. I wonder if the blue light's good. It's obviously some sort of indication that we've got a problem. It's in the yellow. And I've hit this decrease and it's not really doing anything. I think this is for all of them. Yeah, this is for all of them. But one's not really responding. I wonder why. What's this resync button doing? Man, I'm just going to start pushing things. Manual auto. Okay, let's go... Numbers 2 auto, manual, number 3 auto. Well, this turned off the blue light. The other way. Oh, that's frustrating. I'm trying to get it the other way. Oh, there we go. We can never get it back. There we go. I'm just going to keep it in. Ooh. Okay, 6.5. Now, where's that town? I'm guessing this is probably it here. Well, there's an airport there, I think. Nope, just looks like an airport. It's yet another wind farm. Wind farms are everywhere. Six and a half. Okay, I'm a little bit worried about that engine one. What does this say about engine one? Oil temperature is moderate stress. Oil temperature, oil pressure. Now, can I bring the oil temperature down by increasing the... That'll be the cylinder head temperature though, not the oil temperature. Something's wrong. I'll put this back to where it was. I don't know if I have too much around, but actually let's set cruise power. That's maybe that can help.
Set cruise power, please. Setting cruise power.
Hey, okay, there's the town down there. Okay, so then we move on towards that 330, which we don't still have, but in terms of where it is, there should be another lake system here, and it's on that point there of the lake system, just here. So that's where we'll head next. Now that engine 1 RPM, that's really, really troublesome. I really don't know what to do with that guy. I'm almost inclined to just shut that engine down. Let's kill engine 1. I'll kill engine 1 by bringing the mixture off. I think, and we'll feather it. You should be feathered. Push feather. Okay. He should be feathered now. He should be off and feathered. There we go. So I'm going to actually continue because this is overboost, excessive beam manifold pressure. Okay, so I'm going to bring manifold pressures back to 30. Okay, they're all good. That engine 1 was a... I don't know what was going on with him, so he's going to be feathered for the rest of the flight. Getting closer to a King Air. Okay, we've got to 8,000 RPM while I was distracted by that, which is both good and bad. So with our power setting now at 30, we're going to have slower than 200 RPM cruise, but at least I can kind of get it up a bit. Now it should be 5 degrees angular bank towards a live engine if I remember my multi-engine training. I'll also trim it up a little bit for a bit of more of a level flight. Yeah. The other 3 are working. Oh, there we go. So I've picked up the ADF now, so that's fine. Yeah, and it should be just on that point there. Okay, there's 7.5. I'm going to just level out there. And we can level off, actually, we'll try and use the gyropilot. I don't know if the gyropilot's going to enjoy the fact there's an engine out, but who knows. There's I've got to get this guy and get the friction on. Okay, that should give it level, and now altitude on. Trim to help it. Okay, so we should be fairly trimmed up now. Looks pretty good. Looks like we're heading in a straight line. Doing about 180 knots. I'm happy with that. 3 out of 4 engines working. I'm not sure what was going on with engine 1 there. They do model the servicing as well, so I'm not sure why this is exclamationed on all of them. Must be like ham-fisted. But we can get this serviced when we're at our destination. So as a result of the rudder trim, we are flying a little bit sideways. I'm happy with that. This is going to slow us down a bit. Cruise power is actually like 40 RPM, 40 manifold, so I'm going to bump it up to 35 on the remaining good engines. All the other engines are behaving with respect to manifold pressure, fuel flow, RPM, fuel pressure, cylinder head temperature, oil temperature, oil pressure. Everything looks okay. We've got -1 degree outside. I would normally consider about turning on the anti-icing, but actually there looks like there's very little moisture in the air. I think it's fine. If the air was a bit more moist, I would pop on some anti-ice, at least for the windshield. That chipmunk flight where it was completely iced up, that helps with that, obviously. I'm going to turn us. The way you turn in this, and hopefully it works with an engine out, is we hit this turn knob. It'll start turning the aircraft, and then we hit this button when we finish turning. I overcooked it because I couldn't find that button. Hotspot. It'll come back a little bit. I think that's okay. So this looks like the ADF as well. Yes, this is ADF 1, ADF 2, and this is ADF as well. Same ADF. I'm not sure why we need 2 pointers, but developers have put it in. Maybe they're modeling a particular aircraft. Let's get closer. It does look like we're turning. I'll just give it a minute or two to settle. I'll dial in a little bit more left rudder trim. Now, the other thing for consideration, given we're one engine out, is not to balls up the landing. So, just want to be mindful not to apply too much power. Absolutely not to apply too much power too quickly. The aircraft will want to spin to the left, so where possible I want to keep some bank on to the right, maybe a bit of right pedal. Yeah, and all that training should come into play. That looks like the airport down there. Yep, there she is. And the Edbh is actually on the far end of the runway, over there somewhere. Yeah, it looks pretty good. This has got the world's smallest 2 marker. So I'm just going to manage the steering. I mean, we still look like we're turning to the right. I want to just get it going absolutely straight. And then I'll manage the steering with the steer button down here. Looks like it wants a lot. I'm not sure what these lights are for. What are these lights alerting me to? Okay, probably oil pressure, oil temperature warnings. Yeah, it could be just warnings for all three here. Guess they've all got abnormal indications. Oh, we've got a red light up here too. What's this going on about? Oil pressure on oil pressure, fuel pressure, oil pressure. Interesting. That's kind of suggesting there's an issue with the left side of the engine, I guess. Left side of the airplane, I guess. Now with the fuel, this is the auxiliary tanks and these are the main tanks. The main tanks all have the same quantity. We can start cross-feeding. It's such a short flight we won't, but we could actually start cross-feeding out the fuel from here. And the way you do that is you would set this here. We want this tank to cross-feed to tanks 1 and 2. That's off. That's alternate on. That's main on. Crossfeed over here. Right. Alright. That's so this is the tanks. Which tanks we have selected? This is the crossfeed over here, which I'll just try and get some view to. Okay, I'll hold it there. Okay, engine 1 to 2 crossfeed. All engines to crossfeed. Engines 3 to 4 crossfeed, all crossfeed. So if I pull this engines 1 and 2 crossfeed. Oops. And actually, to test it, we'll turn engine 2's fuel off completely. And then watch the fuel pressure work quickly. Okay, we've still got fuel pressure on engine 2. So we're now feeding engine 2 with fuel tank from fuel tank 1. The only problem with that is fuel tank 1 will normalise with fuel tank 2, but meanwhile fuel tank 3 and 4. Oh, what's going on? What just happened? What just happened? The only thing I could think has happened is the gyro pilot has disengaged. I didn't notice the disengage. I was too busy faffing around with the fuel system. the aircraft was trimmed for nose down because it was not responding to any elevator input. That was disturbing. Alright, I'll have to do this flight again shortly, another day. That's really unfortunate. I don't know what to say about that. That is really concerning. So we can see here a takeoff, a very elliptical climb out because of the windmills that were here, which is why there's a right circuit here. And then we've gone wibbly wobbling our way down. We straightened up here once we put the this very straight line here is where we started the gyro pilot. This correction here is when we shut down the left engine, and then we've got a very disturbing, very rapid descent into the water. That's concerning. I'll watch the video back and see what I can find. Thanks for that. Good evening.